here today who wasn't here yesterday, we'll just do a quick introduction of ourselves. I'm Chris Kemp. I'm a former rock promoter and venue manager, as well as a former University Pro Vice Chancellor, and now run my own crowd consultancy business called Mind Over Matter Consulting.
My name is Henrik Bargodas. I come from Roskilde Festival. I'm in charge of health and safety and site planning at Roskilde. I've worked for Roskilde since 1980. And has worked together with Chris Kemp in Yes Group, and I will tell a little bit more about Yes Group later.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to look at two separate elements. Eric's going to look at the elements of crowd profiling, and I'm going to look into using appropriate staff at events. Okay, so what makes an event a total experience? This is all about people. Because the interface between the people who work at the event and people who come to the event is absolutely vital. It's all about customer care. And that customer care is something that if you have it and it spreads throughout your staffing base, then the people who come to the event have a good experience. If you haven't, and people come to your event, they may never come again. Okay? So it's really important that you have a very strong customer care ethic in what you're doing. Let's just look at what a festival is. You have festivals and events both indoors and outdoors. And here you see in the pouring rain. But that doesn't dampen enthusiasm. There's 85,000 people here in front of two stages watching events. So the weather doesn't really matter at times, although it's a few problems. You have festivals for people who like Mad Max, for people who are true pals, for those who like to be medieval, for those who just like to rock, for those who like something a little stronger, for those who like to let off steam. Those who like a bit of art, or a bit of wrestling, or just a bit of fashion, just loving their music. Something for everyone. So that's what a festival is all about. It's about something for everyone. Because there's all kinds of different types of people that you have to cater for. Yeah. But without these people as well, the stakeholders, the festival doesn't operate. So the fire service, first aid, policing, and of course, security and crowd management. All very important parts of what we do. So, what do we need to consider when we're looking at the kind of staff, the types of people that we need for the events? What kind of structures should we have to make an event like we want it to run? So first of all, the size and diversity of the event. Now the size of the event will dictate the number of people we have working on the event. So you need to identify that by how big the event is, or what type of event it is. The environment in which the event is taking place. So what type of event is it? Is it a city festival? Is it a greenfield festival? Is it a festival that's taking place in a stadium? Is it indoor or outdoor? There are different types of elements that you need. Okay? So that type of festival identifies what type of staff you will need to work. Also, the risk factors involved. Are the staff trained and educated appropriately to be working at the festival? Do they actually know what to do if there is an issue? Because this is something that we come up time and time again against across Europe, is people who get people in to the festival to work, absolutely essential. Because if they don't, then the festival will not work. If they're all working against each other, then it's not going to happen. So the competence level of staff. Are you sure that the staff you have working for you are competent in what they do? And that competency level is spread right across the board. It is so important that people are competent to do their job. You wouldn't send an incompetent person up to put your lights up, yeah? Because they wouldn't have safety harness on, they wouldn't be able to work nights, but still do it there trying to do it. And it could end in disaster. So it's about competency. And then the prestige level of the event, the customer care that takes place. And finally, intelligence and profiling activity. And it's going to talk about later. But that intelligence is really important because without it, you can't run your event. So, there are different types of structure. There's command and control, and there is facilitation. And you need to be able to deliver through the staffing process a mixture of that command and control and facilitation. Because if there's an incident, you do not want a facilitative approach. Shall we do this? Shall we do that? No. You want a command and control approach. We will do this and we will do it now. Yeah? So ensuring that you can switch between those two elements is really, really vital. What I'm going to look at now is the type of command and control system or command system that we have in the UK. And that's the reason I want to do this is because it shows how that structure runs through every organisation that works at the event. The structure is gold, silver and bronze. The event gold is about the strategic view and overall delivery. The event silver is about the tacticians and the tactical way that they deliver. And event bronze is about the operational delivery on the ground. Now, in the UK, we will have a police gold, we will have a fire gold, we will have an event gold, and we will have a first aid and paramedics gold. And they are the people who make the crucial decisions if there's an incident. The gold commander has the overview of everything. So that is a really important thing. So we know that the golds for every single area within the event are working together and they can give the command structure that in an incident they will take over. So what does Gold Command do? Well, there's a strategic commander and the strategy has to be completely reviewed as the process goes through. Is the strategy right at this moment in time? Something happens, do we need to change the strategy right? You don't throw the strategy away, you change it so that it's exactly how you want it going forward. So the tactical decisions will be monitored by the gold as well, which are subject to ongoing review. So they're the pinnacle, they're the peak, they're the person who knows everything about what's going on. So the person in the event who controls the event is also part of that gold team. The Silver Command. So this is the Senior Event Operations Manager, the tactical commander of the overall area where the incident is located. So the event still can't become involved close to the incident, but you have to remain detached so you can control. It's like the general in a battle who sits on the hill. They don't go to the battlefield, because if you go to the battlefield, you can't see what's going on. But from the hill, from afar, from the control room, you can see exactly what's happening in the event itself. And they're responsible for calling together your emergency or event liaison team. So the people in your control room who are controlling that event are brought together by this person. So there has to be a coordinated approach to an incident. It's not somebody's over there dealing with it, we're okay. Actually, what's happening, how's it affecting us, what's going on, and how does that staffing structure work? And then your bronze coordinators. So these are operational commanders who are immediately on the scene when anything happens. So they're sent there to to deal with it. So they implement the tactics defined by the silver and the LT and provide progress reports on what's happening. So information comes back from the scene to the silver commander, is escalated to the gold commander if there's an issue, and then a new strategic decision is made on what happens. Simple common sense in how it works. But the ELT should only send appropriately qualified bronzes to each situation. So the first aid paramedics team, if there was a serious injury, they would send somebody as a bronze commander who could deal with that injury while they're there and work with other people and get them to move the elements on. So it's a really important delivery. So communicating the message. Now, there's going to be some very small slides that you're not going to be able to see very much of in a minute, but you'll get the gist of it, and I can always send these in, so they can be distributed. So the communication of the message is really important. So, as you can see, this is a very big and long list. What it shows that the cascade of the information goes from these people as it comes in. So this is for a major tennis tournament. And this means these people have to cascade information down. So when something comes into event silver, they cascade it up to event gold, to the emergency team members and the event operator bronze coordinator. So the silver is in the middle. So they're cascading up and they're cascading down, which is really important because if you think about it, if it's only being cascaded down, then the gold commander has control of everything, which they shouldn't, because that would mean they have to be on the ground as well as in the control room. So they're kind of in the middle. And then you've got the safety officer, the club manager, which is the manager of the tennis club, the coordinator of the security team, the head steward of the championship itself, the media director, so they can give out social media messages, anything they need to do, hospitality managers, so they know what to do in hospitality areas, the silver from St John's Ambulance, which is a different organisation that deals with first aid, and then the police representative. So all of these people then cascade their information, because these are in the EMT, which is the emergency control room, and these people are on the ground, so you get that message across very, very clearly. Now, you won't be able to hear this, unfortunately, because I don't think we've got sound on it. Got sound on it? No? Okay, I'll have to talk through it then. What you're going to see now is, when we were brought into the US to do an event, to make the event work, we spent hours on satellites and going through their processes, how the event plan worked, the kind of things that they were doing, how they were going to get communication across. And what we identified was that they needed scripts for every stage, so pre-planned elements, what they were going to say. So rather than just make it up on the spot and say, there's been a problem, we wrote scripts for every single stage. So that every person who went up on that stage at the beginning said, if there is an emergency, this is what we're going to do. Fort Collins Police are right close to us on the right-hand side of the arena. They will be there should there be a problem. You will be evacuated. These people are going to evacuate you from this area if anything comes up. Please do not worry, there will be no problems, and we will sort it out. So that's the kind of thing that's taking place here. So that's what he's basically saying. So he's communicating the information that's being leveled to him from the management team to ensure that people are safe, confident, and the customer care is there. And it's really important because this is quite an important moment, this bit of the festival here. This is one of the other stages. This is stage 5. And what happened was there was only supposed to be 300 people at this stage. So there was no mojo variability. But the week before this event, the bassist of the band died, and 5,000 people turned up to see the band. So they had to manage this. But look, if you look at the band, and the profile of the crowd there, they're a fairly oldish audience, there's nobody pushing, there's no issues. But they've got special forces people at either side of there, just in case anything happens. They've got response teams on standby in case people push on the barrier and they have to come into the area. Okay, so that is how they planned it from the start. So it's all pre-planning and the staff working together to make sure this works. So, complex and simple crowd safety. Complex structures are often hard for staff to understand, and simple is often best. What I'm going to show you in a minute is a very simple structure and a very complex structure. And it's quite difficult to identify which is the best structure to use. But I'll just run through them very quickly so you can see. So below the gold, silver and bronze comes that next layer of management. But the key to it is there is no one management system that people should use. Because the management system is idiosyncratic. It links to the festival that you have. And that festival will identify what the management structure needed is for it, depending on its size, the type of people involved, even the genre of music involved, will contribute to that kind of element. So, you couldn't have a pan-European festival structure because that would be foolish. Because actually, if you did that, then you wouldn't be catering to your own needs. The interesting thing about that, though, is if you think about it, is there a different way of doing events? Because everybody does events the same way. Does anybody ever try to do events in a different way? Maybe there is a different way. But because we always do it the same way that we've always done it, we always get what we've always got. So it's interesting to see whether there would be a different way of doing it and how that might impact. So this, again, is your tennis element. Now for this, you have one security coordinator, one person who is coordinating the emergency room, the player and spotter coordinator, because the players, these are world-class top tennis players, and they have to have an escort system with CP, which are close protection officers. So they have an escort, they have a spotter team. The spotter team are around the area. The Americans sent in people as well to watch from the buildings to make sure that they were looking for anything that might change in people's behaviour that meant there was going to be an issue. So you have all of that down this side. Yeah, the courtside security, CPO, radio controllers, CCTV operatives, because they're all focusing on what's going on. So down here, you've got the other security elements. The supervisors, internal, the supervisors, external, the traffic supervisors, and the night supervisors. So they're all linked to a very, very carefully crafted system, which is very, very simple. Because if you overcomplicate this, you've got an issue. Because the two sets of people that you're trying to protect are the audience and the players. Two very different types of people. So that side coordinates the player element, and this side coordinates the people coming in. Very simple, very big distinction between the players and those on court, off court for watching. This is much more complex. This is Bohemian Nights New West Fest incident command structure. And as you can see, they've got identified a large number of people. You've got your all phases project manager, your event safety staff, your security coordinator, communications director, and also the Downtown Business Association director, because they're directing this event. So they have all of these elements linked to it, which is fairly complex, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, because that's what's underneath it. So very, very complex staffing structure. And as you can see, it goes from logistics through vendor management, music safety staff, overnight festival security, police incident command, all of the different area supervisors, the beer supervisors, everything that's linked to the security around there is all in those elements. And there's one below it as well. So we gradually go down into it. This, which is fairly okay, although there's a lot of people involved in it, to the next stage, which is this, showing just how complex a structure for staff can be. So, a simple staffing structure is your front stage area, where you've got your pit team, with your pit team manager, your pit team supervisor, your audience safety team, your spotter, showstop operator, counters and figures, and authorization checks. You think about that, that's only one part of what you do. So, what does a pit boss do? Well, they manage the overall safety of the pit, and they manage the people and what they do in that pit, but they give the commands to everybody who's in there. So it's also a command and control structure as well. And then you've got the pit team supervisor, who supervises areas of stewards so that they're able to talk people out of the audience if they've got issues or do other jobs. Then you've got the audience safety team, which has stewards who do the pulling out. They also have spotters who identify where the issues are for those people to pull out, who are then managed by their supervisors, who are then managed by the pit team boss. Yeah, so it's a structure which goes downwards. Also, you have the showstop operator, the person who will stop the show. It's a bit of a contextual, we could do a whole year on that. But the showstop operator is a really important person because they're the person, anything goes wrong, will stop that show. And then there's accreditation examiners, checking people's passes, coming in and out, and counters and clickers if you're clicking people coming over the barrier. If you're clicking people coming over the barrier, then you know for that kind of band how many people you've got coming over per minute, per hour, so you can identify how many staff you're going to need next time if you have that artist on. So it's all about making sure you've got the information. So ingress and egress teams, 1 to 3 safety stewards per lane, depending on how you search. Yeah. Dog handlers, if you need them. At the O2, we did a piece of work with them, and they use dogs, but they're not drugs dogs, they're just dogs. But when people see them, they all drop the drugs on the floor. Because they think they're drug dogs, but actually they're not. They're just normal dogs they have out. So it's quite interesting watching that taking place. So you've got spotters, bag searchers, confiscators, but we started using a lot, especially around Europe, behavioural detection staff. Often the police, often the people who stand and look at people and point to them. And when we were in America, we had 2 girls from university who were behavioural detectionists, and they just pointed to people and they were given an orange wristband and put it in front of them. 89% of the incidents that happened at that event were by people with orange wristbands on. So it shows that behavioural detection does work. And then you've got response teams. So, site security, response teams, security on campsites, bar stages, other areas, backstage, car parks. There's so much goes on, and all this has to be coordinated. And it goes back to the very first couple of slides, which identify what takes place. So when management has to become control, I'm going to show you a short video. You just park this, and just have a look at this. Some of you will see it. Just watch what happens. Remember, this could happen with a very small number of people, but this happens with a very large number of people. So this is the Libertines, 5th of July, in 2014 Hyde Park. What I want you to do is, if you just watch this bit here, and just at the top here, and you'll see what happens. So here you've got a configuration which is moving around because of the shape of the barrier. So people pushing in, and it moves people around in a circular motion. And what happens shortly, you'll see, in a couple of seconds, hopefully, is something strange happens at the top of the picture. So the band just coming on the stage, people are pushing to get in, to get through, to get into the pen, and the crowd are loving it. And then, suddenly, this happens. Okay? Holes in the crowd collapsing, people on the ground. Okay, trying to pull them up all over the place. Still moving around, still people pushing in. Now, major problem with this is that these people here cannot move And every time a wave comes in, it hits there. Now, this was caused for two reasons. One is this here is supposed to be the midline of the stage. The midline of the stage is there. The only reason that's been put there is because that's a VIP area where people pay 3 times as much to get in. So they created a specialist area for people to see and crushed everybody who really wants to see the band into this area here. So everybody from the back is pushing forward to try and get to the stage, causing this kind of issue. And this happens so many times. And this is about where you change to control. Because there's no security presence really at the front. They're going like this at the front. How's that going to help the people on the ground doing the work? Yeah? Incompetent staff, poor planning, poor management, bad delivery, really badly put together. And that's what happens if you don't follow the simple rules of having the right command structure with the right people. So, when these kind of things happen, you've got to react quickly. Now, one of the keys is react appropriately. When we were in America, we had a guy who was in charge of the police, and his police numbers were severely down because somebody had a wedding on the same weekend and everybody had gone to this wedding. So there was an incident at the front of the stage, and he sent everybody to the front of the stage to deal with it. It was 2 people fighting. But the message that had come back was that there was a huge incident at the front. It was 2 people. But he sent the whole resource. So that was not an appropriate reaction. Anticipate emergencies. Identify what might happen. Identify the problems that are happening or coming up, and formulate and implement your plans. Okay? Henry, you're on.
Here we are. In the same way as yesterday, Chris has talked about principles and theory, also a little bit about practice, and I will come with a couple of examples profiling from my own area of the festival. But in the same way as yesterday, first a little commercial. Chris and I are working in Europe, the festival organization Europe, and we have a network in the Yes Group. We are doing some seminars the 20th and the 21st of September. We are doing the 25th seminar in the Yes Group in Germany, at the Labor Artista in Hamburg. And it is an open seminar. That means it's okay to participate even though that you're not a member of Europe. It's work like we have closed seminars for members only and open seminars. And the seminar in Hamburg is an open seminar. I have talking about the issue, you're welcome to have one after this session, and at Europe's website there's guidance how to get to the seminar in Hamburg. Crowd management is defined as the systematic planning for or supervision of the audience movement and assembly of people. That's a sentence from John Fruin. And in order to handle systematic planning of the Roskilde Festival audience, it's very important that we try to get to know them as well as possible. And to get to know your audience is not easy, but because at Roskilde, where you have 130,000 individuals, it's a different task to get to know them in details. But of course, we can find out who they are. At Roskilde, 52% are women, 48 men. We also know that 56% are singles. 55% students, 36% in work. 89% comes from Denmark, and the rest 11% from other countries, Norway, Sweden, and we also know that 23 were at Roskilde for the first time, newcomers, and we also know that 8% has been there for more than 10 years. But that much is not very much worth in looking at how the audience will behave. We know that from experience that our guests are usually willing to do what we ask them to do, specific if we are clear in our communication. If we tell them we would like you to do this or this, it normally does. When we queue up in front of the campsite, as here, people are in line for camping, and it's important that we create a trustful atmosphere between both the guests in between and also between the guests and us as organizers. So we very, very often go out, talk to them, tell them what's going on for the next couple of hours, and because in Roskilde people queue up often for 4 or 5 days in front of the gates of the campsite. It's a little strange to wait in queue just to get into a campsite, but that's what they do. And we have PA systems, so we can talk to the crowds during the 4 days they are waiting and tell them exactly what are going to happen today, tomorrow, what are going to happen in the next hours. And in the last hour before we open the gates, we have live speak. Tell them to be ready and to calm down. It's very interesting because there's no fence in front of them. You only have a line, and we ask the people in the right side to hold this line. A rope, yes, and in one end the audience are holding the rope, and the other end of the queue people are holding the other end of the rope. And when we say, now you are allowed to drop the rope, then people, when it goes into the campsite. So it's a very nice relation between us and the audience. And all work.
You cannot even keep it behind the fence.
But it's very interesting because we have been on a travel for the last 10 years, because 10 years ago, we gave them their wristbands in advance. We asked them to go into Copenhagen, have your wristband, be ready to go to Roskilde, and we opened the fence at 8 o'clock. And what happens was they tear down the fences, run into the campsite, so we had to do something else. And what we have done now is that all around the festival site, there are signs saying you're not allowed to be inside this fence until after Saturday at 4 o'clock. If you are inside without the right wristbands, you will have a fine. And we fine you the double price of your wristband. But we don't say very much about it. It's on science. We tell a little bit about it on the speakers, but they know there is a consequence if you don't do as we say. But over the last 10 years, we have taken all the fences away using rope instead, and created a trustful atmosphere between us and the audience. Well, when guests go to concerts, it becomes clear that there's a huge difference in what kind of audience we have. You can say when we look at the audience in front of the campsite, we look at them as one whole group and we handle them as one group. But in front of stages, it's a little bit different. It's not rocket science. I think you know it from yourself. I have but as you can see, our guest has different ways of expressing their joy and enthusiasm. And for most concerts at Roskilde, we have no problems with the audience. But we also know that different fan cultures related to different artists give us challenges. And just a few years ago, we had the same rules for all concerts, such as band of moshing, crowd surfing, slam dancing, other kind of activities in front of the stage. But it also created a lot of problems for us because from the minute that the audience showed up, we had a conflict because a built-in fan culture is this more dramatic expression in front of the stage. I have some video clips from 2014. We used the same camera, it's the same stage, it's almost the same audience. This is the Rolling Stones concert at Roskilde 2014. It's a little bit boring movie because it is just an audience having a great time, singing along with the Rolling Stones, moving just a little bit, saying hi, nice concert.
Do they all fix ever to 34? Do they all fix the age of 34?
Exactly.
And the next one is the Arctic Monkeys, same year, same stage, more or less the same audience. But a little bit more enthusiastic atmosphere, not, as you can see from our staff in front of the stage, not very active here. And the last example is also 2014, same stage, same audience, and this is Major Lazer having a great party in front of the stage.
Major Lazer.
Yes.
You should do the wrong song again. Such a boring thing.
It's a great party. Most in the audience liked it, but in 2014 there was also a lot of people complaining afterwards because they were in the pit, didn't know a clue, hadn't got a clue of what they were part of, saying, how can you allow that kind of things happen at your festival? It was not a nice experience for us being into the party with Major Lazer because we didn't understand what was going on. going on around us. And that's why we, after 2014, decided that we had to do something different, because the circuit head for major laser is a part of major laser. It's impossible to get major laser not to have in the circuit head. So how can we do that? We decided to introduce what we have labeled as high energy concerts, and we started with that in 2015. High energy concert is a label or a logo. It has also a definition or explanation saying some concerts at Roskilde Festival call for moshing, wild dancing, etc. We mark these with a high energy icon. If you can see this icon next to an act on these pages, expect the audience activity in front of the stage to be quite wild. And we want you to be careful if you choose to be up front. We will allow moshing, dancing, etc. at these concerts. Do notice, however, that we do not allow concert. That's our definition on a high energy concert. And in the program this Wednesday this year, we have at Orange Stage 3 times. It's all Wednesday, and at all stages we have 3 high energy concerts. And in the program, mentioning or telling about the different bands, we also have the icon with the icon telling that this is going to be a high energy concert. And also on our big screens before the concert starts, we warn people that this is going to be a high energy concert. We have now used it for 3 years, and you get really much praise from both those who are allowed to express their enthusiasm a little more expressive, but also for people who now have a better experience because they are not in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Did you make your schedule depending on these concerts? I don't know, Coldplay is the headliner, you mentioned the high energy concert before Coldplay.
No. I would say typical, the major laser example would be the last concert of the day.
Maybe the
But-
pioneers are the last one.
Yes, but as you could see here, we have on some of the smaller stages.
Yeah, I mean, for the main stage.
Yeah, for the main stage, it will normally be one of the last concerts. Yes. Yes. I should tell that at Roskilde, in front of the main stage, we have a pit system with 4 pits, and we line up people before every concert. And yes, and we clear the area after each concert, so you cannot wait in front of stage for the next band. You have to be in line. So we have also the most dedicated fans in the pit system, not people waiting for their favorite act later on.
Okay,
Yeah. And this system called for a very close cooperation between the health and safety people and the people booking the artists, because we need to go through all the artists and have as much information, and we do a risk assessment on each artist, where we look into what do we expect, how many people do we expect them to attract, is it, will we have a lot of people looking for the density for the stage, and also what kind of activity is related to this fans and the fan culture around. And we write everything down and have risk assessment for all the banks and go through the risk assessment to the authorities so that the police also are informed about what is behind this schedule, where should we be aware of high energy and where is the potential areas where we should operate. Yes. And
we have 10 minutes of questions. Anybody has any questions at all? Or are you just stunned by that?
I was wondering, when we saw the major laser footage, for example, how many people were you looking at in front of the main stage?
In the picture, or how many we have
You were there at the picture, just at the stage with the concert.
I guess around 5,000. The total amount in front of the stage is 75,000. It depends on which band are on, because we have more than 2 per square meters in the pit system, because people would like normally to be very close. But we have less people for the Rolling Stones concert because the audience for Rolling Stones concerts needs more space around. But for Major Lazer, people would like to be very close, at the same for Arctic Monkeys. So we have more people inside the pit system for Arctic Monkeys and Major Lazer than you have for the Rolling Stones. Yeah. Yeah, we sometimes we take them, but normally we use we have spotters that visual see how much are the pen filled up, or the pit filled up, and then we close the gates. And sometimes during a concert, the people has moved forward if the areas behind them are too big, and for the people outside the system looks as empty space. We fill a little bit more in, but we have emergency gates in the pit system, so we can empty one of the pits independently. And because we can get around the audience from all sides, we can rescue and help them very easily. So we are allowed to have more than 0.5 per square meter in the pit system.
And Henry helped us with an experiment, didn't he, with the pressure.
Yes.
Many years ago, we had invented this suit which has pressure pads in the suit, and we put people into the front pits to check what the pressure would be on people's bodies. We also used the Mojo Barriers pressure testing system, which doesn't exist anymore. And the great thing about what Henrik and his team have created is that when people queue up and come into the front two pits, then they go into the second two pits, and then there's everybody behind and the back. So the pressure at the front, when Green Day, wasn't it Green Day?
Yes.
Green Day, when the gig starts, the pressure at the front was 4.6 kilonewtons. Okay, that's for 1 second over there. That's the various times. So that means it's about the pressure of having maybe 9 people laid on top of you. So when you hit the barrier. Okay, so that's good. Now, if that was 9 people laid on top of you at 4.6 kilonewtons pressure, what do you think the pressure was at the secondary barrier? Anybody have a guess? 0.5 kilonewtons. And at the final barrier where you got the rest of the 75,000 people behind? No pressure. Why? Absolutely. All the people that cause the pressure are exposed. So what Henrik's done is he's managed out the issue by putting the people in the front pit and having stewards supervise everybody around them and checking everything out. So that makes it so those people are monitored, managed, safely. And then the rest of the people in the second pit, there's a little bit less is needed. And finally, everybody behind there, there's no issue because there's no pressure. So it just shows how well that kind of structure works.
And we have the first pit is here, and then there's an aisle so that we can help people from both the front side and the back side and from the middle side. So they are contained of stewards.
Do you think it's a better system to have it split in two in the front, or to have one and so there's no perfect?
It's a very interesting question because the bookers, some of the artists don't like the middle aisle. But for me, I like it very much because I like an access to all aisles without any problems. And the easiest way to get out and in and to help people is from the way. But we are looking into if we can do something else. But until now, I would say it's the best system.
Suggest leaving some tunnels. You say crowd surfing is not allowed. You say, what do you do when it actually happens?
We have a system all over the festival. We call it a warning system. And that means if you do something that we don't like, and we don't like it so much so that we would like to give you a warning, we cut your wristbands and give you a warning wristbands, saying if you do something again, then it's over and out. Exactly as in football. And it works perfect because people really don't like to get thrown out.
Okay, so you really cut off the wristband and give them a yellow.
Yes. Yes.
That's a good thing.
Very
It does throw them out instantly.
And crowd surfing is still kind of an escape route. So sometimes, if a tiny little girl are carried out on someone's hands because she's afraid that we don't cut in wristband, we say you're welcome, take care of her. But if we have what we call sports surfers, no problem, we cut your wristband, give you a warning.
Interesting your system of stigmatization a little bit because you have this high energy issue, which actually other promoters could use as an advertising tool. Roskilde, high energy band.
Yeah. Yes. But the problem, our problem is that we are a mixed festival because if you look at Copenhagen, it's or Bachen festival. You don't have any problem because everybody expects high energy on the stage. But at our festival, newcomers, 23% newcomers every year, and they don't have a clue about what Roskilde Festival are for kind of a festival. And there's a big risk that they will be in front of stage to do one concert and have a very bad experience. So it makes sense to warn them.
The warning is excellent. I've never heard of this before. They're really interesting.
What is your policy about flags on sticks? Do you have any problems?
Flags and sticks are allowed outside the barrier system, but not inside.
So not in the front of the
No.
stage?
Yeah.
Did you have any problem with flags? Some people getting hurt because of...
No. It's a very good solution to find each other in the crowd.
If you think about the film that I showed you before from Hyde Park, there's a guy specifically trained in the box with the cameras, with two other people, and he's radioing down to the front stage for what he can see. That's why he kept going in to check that people had come off the floor, and he goes into different areas just to check everybody's okay. If he spots anything, he'll get people in straight away. Same as the police do with hooligans at all, just looking at it closely and identifying who it is, sending the police to pull them out.
And Roskilde, we have spotters on stage, and they have monitor as well, so they can see the CCTV camera, and they can ask. The whole area in front of the stage are divided into small sections with numbers and letters. So if you see something you're not sure about, you can ask for direct photos from C77 or whatever. And if we from the CCTV or from the stage cannot be sure if everything is okay, then we have response teams that we can send out. And because we can be around the audience, it's very easy to from backside to go into the crowd and go to the area where you are concerned about everything's okay.
But the one thing you've got to be really careful with as well is how you train your spotters, because they have to be very highly trained. We train all the spotters for the O2 Arena in London, and they go through a 5-day course to ensure that they can spot people, they can give the right commands to get the emergency services in if anything goes wrong, recognise what's happening, watch the crowd movement, know what type of movement it is specifically so that you can okay. Thank you very much for listening.